My name is Tony Shultz, and I'm a boxing promoter. I started as a boxer, and moved to sparring partner. Did that for several years, and then started working with several major promoters on some of their fights, learning the inside game of it. And then last year, I broke off and decided to start my own boxing promotion company. And my personal focus, what I really, I guess, what matters to me most are the heavyweights. I'm a heavyweight fiend. I love watching fights, heavyweight fights. I grew up on heavyweight fights, even watching old film from my grandfather of Floyd Mayweather, and you know, Ali and Frazier and Foreman and you know, moving up to Tyson and Holyfield and Frazier Ruddock, Riddick Bowe, the whole nine yards. And I've always just loved you know, the physicality of heavyweight fights. When you get two guys, 6'1", 6'2", 6'5", 6'8", whatever, different styles, different approaches based on their different reaches and everything. But their differences really make the fight work if they're $2. So that's my thing. I'm a boxing promoter, but my focus is on heavyweights. I really feel like boxing is missing that.
What inspired you to break off and start your own promotional company?
Well, personal reasons. I just felt like what I was seeing with other promoters, and other promoters were getting older, in all fairness, but a lot of the older promoters that I work with just weren't promoting fights anymore. And boxing is not a sport that promotes itself. It doesn't have a league like the NFL. It doesn't have an association like the NBA. You know, it doesn't have that sort of built-in, you know, we root for this team or we root for that team. So you really have to get in there and find the best talent and then, you know, get their stories out there and define them and give their backers, their supporters, a reason to follow them. And a lot of the guys that I had been working with weren't really doing that. They were more interested just in the TV paycheck, just in getting on HBO or Showtime or ESPN, collecting licensing fee from it, getting it in a casino and having a casino buy all the tickets from them, pay them a site fee, and then they go sell it for them. So it just became kind of a quick money thing instead of, you know, what are the two best matchups. In fact, several of the promoters that I've worked with weren't promoters at all. They were just money guys that, you know, they put the contract together. They had somebody else match the two fighters. They didn't even step foot in the gym. Never watched a moment of fight film, anything. To them, it was just a business. You know, get these two guys in the ring. I've got contacts with the TV network. I've got contacts with this site, and you know, I can sell X amount of tickets off of it. Fight doesn't matter, so you know, just push that one out there, get it done, and let's put another fight together. And I mean, that's, you know, that's their business model, but it just didn't work for me. I really wanted to, you know, delve into it. Especially, you know, when you're a sparring partner, when you're a boxer yourself, you really, you know, not only do you hear the stories, but you're a part of the stories. You live the stories. You know where this boxer comes from and their trials and tribulations and what they're trying to accomplish. And, you know, they come from the right side of the or wrong side of the track. They don't necessarily have an education, let alone a Stanford or Harvard or Yale education. They don't have those types of connections. They don't, you know, really have what it takes to become rich and famous, or you know, a way of making life better for themselves and their families and their friends. So boxing is sort of their outlet for that. So when you know that and you realize that and you participate in it, you live through it, and then you kind of come across the business people who, you know, don't even step in the gym, don't have any idea who these guys are. They're just trying to, you know, put a fight together as cheaply as they can to make, you know, buck off the site fee and the license fee, there's a disconnect there. And the disconnect, I think, is most resounding with boxing fans, because you have your hardcore fans that follow it no matter what. But you've got an entire generation, possibly not a second generation of kids and young adults who really don't have boxing built into their DNA. They haven't necessarily grown up watching it, or at least the heavyweight. And they don't really rock the clothes, or it's not really a part of their, everyday excitement or passion and things like that. And so it's kind of sad to see that legacy sort of go by the wayside, because there's not somebody out there pushing it, selling it, giving you reasons to want to watch it, getting fighters that represent you or have are relatable to you in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's one of those things where, as crazy as it sounds, and it's how do I say it? Most people are just happy to wake up and go to work and get a paycheck, come home, get with it. But then, there's people like me who just, the only thing that gets us out of bed is a good fight. You wake up in the morning and you just say, something's missing in my life. Two heavyweights going at it. Who's the baddest man on the planet? I don't know, and that bothers me. I need to know that. I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten on a plane now, since I started working on my heavyweight fight, where a person sitting next to me says, "What do you do?" And I tell them what I do, and I'm, where I'm going. I'm on my way to, help somebody promote a fight, and this is what I'm working on. And they look at it and they go, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine yesterday or last week or last month. Who is the heavyweight champion of the world? And you tell them, and they go, "I've never heard of that." And they just look confused, and they say, "What happened?" This used to be a big deal. I used to get all my friends together, and this was, once or twice or 3 times a year, this was a social gathering with me and all my guy friends would just get together, buy the pay-per-view, have some beers, and just, talk about good old days, fighting each other. He said that, I hear all the time that's missing out of a lot of people's lives. So, you gotta fix that.
Do you feel like we currently have any heavyweights, aside from the guys that you're promoting, of course, but do you feel like are there any heavyweight fighters now that can kind of bring the excitement back to the heavyweight division?
If I'm being honest, I don't see it right now. I think that the heavyweight division is going to rest in the prospect hands. Right now, a lot of the so-called champs are older as it is. Even with Klitschko, he's been champ, or his brother's been champ for a decade. There's not, and this is the promoter's job, and this is what I think we've been missing a lot lately. Is a promoter's job is really to sell the personality of a fighter. Is to really bring the personality out. Is to really make it shine. So I think we have to develop not only some, menacing heavyweights, which I think there are, several handfuls in gyms all across the country. But what we also have to do is we have to get out there and we have to sell them. We have to get them in front of the public, get them, to see their personalities, develop their, develop their rapport, develop a fan base, get people excited about it again. Us as promoters are just doing a terrible, terrible, terrible job of, selling boxing, which, it does not promote itself. It's just not something that is easily relatable to until you can start naming, reasons why and sharing stories of why this fight matters, why it's so important, and who the guys are, and that. So to answer your question, I don't see any of the current guys being the answer, honestly.
Okay, here's an interesting question. Now, currently right now, the top 3 or 4 pay-per-view stars are Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, Canelo Alvarez, and then Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, eventually will probably reach that mark. Now with Floyd, he's not necessarily regarded as a KO puncher. He's a defensive-minded, pure boxer, the sweet science or whatnot. But he uses his personality basically, and he plays the role of villain to incite people to want to pay to see him, whether it's to see him lose or some appreciators of what he does will pay to see him win. Do you think that there can be a guy that brings back the heavyweight division that is not necessarily a knockout artist, like he's a defensive-minded fighter who maybe doesn't stink up, the event, but he's, very cautious and safety-first type of fighter? Do you think in order for there to be a heavyweight comeback, there needs to be a guy that's knocking guys out like Tyson left and right?
I think my answer would be, the simple answer is yes and no, and I'll go into a little bit more depth on that. Yes, you need a knockout artist, and having a defensive champion is not a bad thing, depending on that person's style. Is it all defensive, or can they switch from offense to defensive? And B, what's their personality is like? I mean, boxing, more than any other sport, I think, is personality driven, period. And you can't make up personalities. You can't go out and say, hey, today I'm going to be this way. I mean, you really gotta have an authentic personality. You really have to come from the background that you say you come from, and you really have to have gone through the things that you've gone through to feel it. Because boxing is the only sport I know of, and I've thought about this over the years, but I just can't think of another sport where if you don't feel well on fight night, you can just cancel. Football, basketball, baseball, anybody's allowed to sit out if they don't feel well. Boxing, you got to fight when you got to fight, period. And that's really part of your personality. It's part of your character. It's part of your drive. No matter what happens the day before or that morning or that night, you have to go out there and perform. If not, you're going to get knocked out in the story. So to bring the heavyweight division back, even with Klitschko, Klitschko is probably the most tactical, chess-like fighter, decades. But he's just boring, and he bores everybody to tears. And there's just no storyline there. It's like the NBA. If they had like the Indiana Pacers versus the San Antonio Spurs for the World Championship. Some people are gonna watch, and it's just the championship, but what's the storyline? Why do I care? What does it matter? You got to have the hero, you have to have the villain, but they've got to be legit heroes and villains, and they've got to be, like you said. Defensive is fine, as long as the other guy is going to come forward. Two brawlers is fine. Two defensive people, I don't know. Hey, that doesn't sell so much. People want action. They've even been showing that lately about how the NFL and baseball viewership is dropping because of the action has been falling a lot. And I think that more and more people want to see two people going at it. They want to see, quick bursts of a fight. They want to see some aggression. They want to see, some passion. They want to see some enthusiasm. Because, let's be honest, that's what most people are missing from their lives right now. Is passion, enthusiasm, something that just lights a fire underneath that. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think that a defensive-minded heavyweight isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as you have a strong personality and story to keep them engaged with their fan base, and B, as long as you can keep relevant, legit fighters coming at them trying to take that title.
Okay. Can you tell us about your upcoming event?
Absolutely. So it's taken me a while to put this one together just because, the heavyweight landscape has become so fractured. But putting on a U.S. versus UK heavyweight just showdown, full-out brawl. Looks like I have my U.S. heavyweight, big guy, brawler. He has like an 80% knockout rate right now, and he's been fighting some legit prospects. And still looking through a couple of UK fighters. I've got it narrowed down to about 3 guys that I like. I've been watching some fight film on them this week, and they're all looking good. The bottom line though is that whoever wins this fight moves from a prospect to a contender. So the most important part is that I get 2 guys who are hungry, ambitious. If the fight will take place in New York, in front of a live New York crowd, so they've got to be comfortable under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. They have to be comfortable fighting for a shot at becoming a prospect, and then after a few more fights, getting a shot at the world title. The response I've gotten is incredible. Everybody that I've been talking to about the fight is very supportive. Getting a lot of requests from celebs, from VIP clients, all wanting ringside seats for the event. We're also going to do a new distribution model on it as well, to just to kind of make everything fresh, new, different, and really focus on like a younger demographic as far as who I want to market this to. I really want to market this and brand this as the return of the heavyweight division. As these guys aren't the heavyweight champions right now, but they are the future of the heavyweight division. In the next 12 months, these guys are going to be the guys battling out for that title. And whoever gets it, there's going to be a steady march of other opponents wanting to take it from them. So it's taken a while just because it's hard to put together a fight, bottom line, unless you just grab the 2 guys who are willing to fight for the cheapest amount of money. Outside of that, everybody to put 2 top guys into a dangerous fight takes a lot of negotiation, it takes a lot of persuasion, it takes a lot of promises of we're going to make this thing work and we're going to make headlines with this kind of thing.
Can you tell us the name of the heavyweight fighter from the U.S. that you have on the event?
Not yet, because I haven't signed an agreement with him yet. But I will have a name for you within the next 10 days or so. I've got to get an agreement in place with him and with his team, and then I'll be able to release that name. In fact, what I'll do is I'll actually release the fight poster directly to you.
Okay, cool. Can you also explain why you're promoting it's going to be a USA fighter versus a UK fighter?